something I've been looking at. You can literally just switch to the 15-minute time frame, and you should see this kind of performance yourself when you have it. So yeah, something good to look at. Other than that, scalper is not in any trade right now, so we can wait for that. We'll analyze that trade as it comes. I will just look at higher time frames here. Also good to see that, the bounce, even though it was with very little statistical significance yesterday, where we were deciding this trade here, but this is a great example about what we were talking about yesterday, which is that we hit the top of the range, which we previously plotted. However, if we were looking at this live and would see every single candle, probably by this candle going down, we would probably have a pretty bad, we'll probably exit or do, a decision that would not be a good decision. But because we said it and then just forgot it, right? We literally didn't think about it anymore. The trade actually played out to some extent, rather than us doing a bad decision before the move could even happen, because we were not there. We set it up, we made sure that whatever happens, 100% of the position is covered, and then we left and did not watch the trade unfold live. So that's one thing. The other thing is, let's look at the stochastics. So let's look at Porcupine and let's go through the time frames and get an overall bias where the market is. And based on that, we can see towards the higher time frames, right? So 15-minute and up, what trade we can do here. Because if we go to the lower time frames, we might find an entry, but it's possible that the time frames are not aligned right now. I haven't looked yet. With the scalper, we know that we're not in a trade right now, so we gotta wait for that a little bit. And yeah, we're gonna look at the alignments over the different time frames and see what we can do and what time frame we can probably enter in. Just looking at the 15-minute though, what I see is that we're towards the bottom of this range with a couple more support levels around here. So we could break lower, we could bounce around here. We'll see what the stochastics will tell us. I will just remove the drawings. I'm just gonna go here and remove the drawings here, so it's gonna be easier and we can do it ourselves. And we'll look at the stochastics on the higher time frames and go through everything there. So let me just make a very rough range here before we start our analysis. So this is support level, this is support level. We cannot ignore this support level because it has been touched many times, and we cannot ignore this support level because we wicked out to this level many times. We recovered every single time back into the range, but it's still something very important, because if we were too long here, then we need to be aware that this can happen. How do we account for it? Well, obviously we're going to layer in trades there. So what does the stochastic say right now? Well, on a 15-minute, we have the stochastics bottomed out, kind of bounced, and it's turning back down. So my estimate is that the lower time frames are going to be turning to the downside because the 15-minute is turning in its move, turning back down. So let's look at the 5-minute. Okay, so the 5-minute is choppy going up, currently going down. 3-minute is going down, and 1-minute is going back up and reloading. All right, so the 3 and 5 are moving the 15-minute further down. All right, there's no real alignment that we see right now. However, we can look at the higher time frames, and then we can see how the lower time frames play into the higher time frames, and then we can get an overall bias. So let's see the 30-minute here. And by the way, looking at the Porcupine score, it's towards the bottom here, but really choppy around the middle, which means that there is no clear there's no clear signal or clear indication if we're bullish or bearish on the lower time frames, right? So once again, we need to go to the higher time frames to see what's going on, because the lower time frames are very neutral or unaligned. the fact that our porcupine is like in the middle means that they're all either in the middle or they're opposite of each other and they're just on a line. So yeah, we had a short signal here which played out really nicely. So let's just look what the higher timers are doing. Our 15-minute is bouncing to the upside, which our 5-minute at this point is going up. What should happen. So okay, let's look at it this way. So we're at a support level, right? And we just bounced off of it in this candle. So what we want right now, or like what we're looking at, is that the stochastic's going down, but there's a range, or like there's this flag basically that has been going to the upside. So what we want, or like not what we want necessarily, because we're pretty objective right now, but what we're looking at is if the stochastic will turn back up and form a higher low here. If that's the case, then you can basically just take this entire channel as one line to the upside. And if that turns to the upside, then it's guaranteed that the 15-minute will turn further up. So the 5-minute right now is going to determine where the 15-minute is going to go. So if we want to, if that's important, we've just connected these two, right? The 15-minute is highly dependent on the 5-minute right now, and the question is, does it turn at a higher low or does it break lower? If it breaks lower, then I guarantee you that the 15-minute is going to break further down. So the 3-minute, what's the 3-minute doing? Okay, so the 3-minute is going down. What's the price doing? The price is going to the upside while the 3-minute is going down. That's a bullish sign, because once this 3-minute turns around, and that can be, lower or around here, we will see. But as it turns around, we know that the 15-minute will turn around, because the 3-minute will push the 5-minute. Sorry, 5-minute, not 15-minute. And the 1-minute in general went down, is going further up. So these cycles on the 1-minute dictate the movement of the overall market, the very, very, granular movement of the overall market. And what we're looking at is, to the upside and to the downside, how much pressure are we taking with? So how much does the 1-minute move the stochastic to the upside when it's going up? How much does it move the 3-minute stochastic to the downside when it's going down? And based on that, we'll see, okay, how dependent are those time frames. So right now, our 1-minute is going up, the price is going up, and our 3-minute is turning around. So if we go to the 5-minute, it should start turning around soon. Okay, just turn around. So as the 5-minute turned around, right, we didn't complete the move to the downside at all. So this is a bullish sign. So our 15-minute should be turning to the upside. All right. So now our 15 minutes go turn to the upside, and it's a bigger confirmation that we might, bounce to the upside. Now, we would like to see, if we want to form a thesis for a long, we would like to see a 30-minute in alignment. I will just put it along here because that's our current theory. However, right now the entry is not great. We can probably still have, a couple more touches to the downside, so I'll definitely, add in or layer in later as well. 30-minute. All right, 30-minute was going down, very, very similar to the 15-minute, and it's turning to the upside right now as well. Time-wise, we're about to close the 30-minute in 5 seconds. So the 30-minute candle is going to close in 5 seconds. So in 2 seconds, there we go. We just got a next candle, right? And now we're definitely going up. What's the 15-minute doing? What's the 15-minute doing if it ever loads? I would assume that it's definitely going up again as well. Okay, so we're kind of turning to the downside, but we're still going up. All right, so that's the current situation with a 30-minute. So it looks like we're starting to push to the upside. One thing that I would be worried about when I just longed here is that the 5-minute does not have that much more room to go to the upside, and we're still towards the bottom of the channel. So probably what's going to happen is we're going to top out and go further down. Then we need to see what the price action does as the 5-minute stochastic is going further down, and then that will be a good time to enter. So that is something that I'd be looking at, something like this. Same with the 3-minute, like those will top out very soon. The 1-minute, is topping out as we speak. So this is probably going to take a couple more cycles for the 15 minutes to really start going and a 30 minute to really start going. So we still need to be slightly aware of that. All right, let's go to the higher time frame, see how the entire market's looking like. Our 1 hour is also kind of similar to the 15 minute, 30 minute, and 1 hour. We're getting higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. All right, so for this trend to continue, we need to turn this around. This can happen if the next candle happens in 30 minutes, the next 1 hour candle. So this would turn around if the 30 minute keeps going up, and that will happen if the 15 minute keeps going up, and that will happen if the 5 minute keeps going up, and so on and so forth. And that will happen if the 1 and 3 and 5 also as well, by the way, reload, go to the bottom without the price breaking down, and then start going up again. And that will move our 15 minute to the upside. That will move our 30 minute to the upside. So as you can see, it's very harmonized, right? The lower time frames nudge where the higher time frames are going. The higher time frames have a bigger weight and are harder to move, but they kind of give you the direction. The lower time frames are like the carrot in front of a donkey, essentially. So yeah, we have the same pattern on the 1 hour as we have on the lower time frames. Now we go to the 2 hour. It's probably going to be a similar pattern, just evened out. All right, so on the 2 hour, we're bottomed out, and this level where we have, when we zoom out a bit, this level is very, very low. So we can go ahead and make a line here and see, okay, at what other point have we touched this line? We've touched this here, here, here. Okay, let's see, price action wise, what happened when we touched this line. When we touched this line, we had to move up. When we touched this line, we had to move up. When we touched this line, we had to move up. When we touched this line, we had to move up. When we touched it here, we had to move up. When we touched it here, we had to move up. Here, we had to move up. All right. Here, we actually had to move down. But, okay, so say what? Extrapolated 17 out of 20 times. When we go this low on the 2 hour, there's probably going to be a movement to the upside. Good to know. All right, let's go to the higher time frames. The 3 hour is going down. All right, that's fine. Well, on the 3 hour time frames, now we're talking about a much, much higher time frame, which essentially is a very different, almost different market, because the time frame and the perspective is much, much higher. And this will tell you, once you wrap your head around this will tell you why it's so important to look at confirmations from different time frames, because the perspectives are so different. So when we looked at this range on the 5 minute, 15 minute, there was, I don't know, hundreds of candles in between this range. Here, it's say 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever it is. Let's see, seven candles. So just about here, we're around this level, which we have touched before right here. The price was lower though. Now the price is higher. The question is, are we going to bounce to the upside here? Well, let's go lower. The 2 hour is very, very low. So the chance that we're bouncing is pretty high. And, again, the fact if we bounce or go further to the upside will be decided by the time frame lower, which is the 1 hour, which currently is in an upwards channel. What we need to see here is it's turn back to the upside. So in the next 30 minutes, the 1 hour should turn back to the upside. And as it does, and it doesn't get a lower low, then we're still in this channel, with the 30 minute and the 15 minute doing the same thing. So the 3 hour should turn to the upside if the other lower time frames turn to the upside. So now we're starting to get a thesis. We need to watch the lower time frames. If the lower time frames align at the bottom with the price being towards the bottom of the range, then we'll have some movement to the upside. If that doesn't happen, we might have to wait a little longer and wait to the bottom range here, and wait for the lower time frames to align and then have a movement together to the upside. It's possible as well. Right now, all we're trying to do is we're trying to look at an overall market over a thesis and then see what we need to look at on the lower time frames in order to play into it, or in order to, so everything adds up. So that's our 3 hour. Let's see where our 4 hour is. 4 hour is towards the downside as well. Now, the higher you go, the more lagging that time frame is going to be, meaning that the more it's going to take, or the longer it takes for the time frame to move, which is fine. But once again, for the time frame to move to the upside, you might already be, like I don't know, percentage wise, how much is that? You might already be like 1-2% into the move. So that's why we look at the lower time frames and see the position of these ones. So the lower we go in the time frames, the more we look at the direction, so where it is going right now. The higher we go, we look more at the position, so where the stochastic is right now. The direction itself doesn't matter as much because it's lagging, meaning that it will always be slightly behind. The stochastic is a lagging indicator, right? The advantage happens when you look at multiple time frames, because when you look at lower time frames, you can predict what the higher time frames is going to do, and that's how you eliminate the lag. And that is the key point in a strategy, really, is you take a lagging indicator, but you are, based on the more granular data, you're able to project where the line is going to go, because the line is acting like a heavy object, right? Like a train going up and down, and it's hard to move it around. So if it's at the bottom, turning around, and your higher time frames are strongly to the upside, then it will go to the upside because it's being nudged. And once it is going to the upside, it's very, very hard to stop it. So, and that's where a strategy gets its edge. It's anticipating the fact that the higher time frames will turn around by conviction, by the way, not a guess, by conviction, because you have an alignment on the lower time frames, and if you have an alignment over on the lower time frames, there's nothing else that can happen but for the higher time frame to follow. And now as we go to the higher time frames, we will see the same pattern. The stochastic will just be slightly higher. So as we look at the 6 and 8 hour, we can definitely see that there's some room on the higher time frame, right? This is very different than trading the 5 and 3 minute. There's a lot of 3 and 5 minute candles in one 6 hour candle. So here we see that at the higher time frame, we can still touch the bottom, and there's still room in order to touch the bottom here. So what can happen as well is that we will, align to the downside, bounce up, not even go to the top of the range, and then have a further move to the downside. Possible as well. So that's something to look for as well. And then if we go to the higher time frames, same thing. 12 hour, same thing. Daily, same thing. So the daily just started turning down. Weekly topped, and monthly is just about topped, right? So that's these are very, very high level time frames, but still important to look at. And as it is topped, you can see where have we topped the monthly time frame before, where have we topped the weekly time frames before, when we had it like this, right? So also a very similar situation. All right, so let's go to the lower time frame, see what the 30 minutes is doing right now. All right, so we just moved further down. So the 30 minute, let's see what the stochastic is doing. The 30 minute turned back around. The channel here is still intact. We didn't break the channel. Let's look at what the 15 minute and so are doing. Okay, so the 15 minute just turned back around, which means that the 5 minutes going down. 5 minute changed mid move. 3 minute topped out and started going down, and that's what moved the 5 minute to the downside. And the 1 minute is caught at the bottom. All right, so what we want to see now, assuming what I would do now is I would wait for either the price to go to the downside or start going upwards. In the meantime, I can still scalp this. So what I'm going to look at first is I'm going to look at the 1 minute, and I'm going to wait till the stochastic breaks this high here, and I need the 3 minute to be down, which it is, and I need the 5 minute to be down, which it is, and I'm going to trade that. So once the 1 minute, successfully breaks, it doesn't turn back around. That's the only thing. We need to break this and confirm it, and as we do break and confirm it, if the 3 minutes still bottomed out going up, if the 5 minutes bottomed out like it is here, then we can trade a pretty quick long here. The 15 minutes not fully aligned with us because we're going to the downside, but it's possible that we'll still push it up. Or we will just have one more candle, and in the next candle we'll go further to the downside, similar to here. So that's something that we'll be looking at. And then on the higher time frame, if we touch the top of this channel, it would be very, very, it would make a lot of sense to short this to the bottom of the channel as well. Yes, we can break it lower, but if we reach the top, shorting this to the bottom of the channel would make sense. What else? 30 minutes going to the downside, 1 hour going to the downside. So this is Bitcoin, right? So right now I'd be looking at a short-term long if we hit some resistance level, or like some level where it makes sense, and our stochastics, first of all, our 1 minute breaks out, and our 3 and 5 will follow. In that situation, we can look at a long. So that's Bitcoin. What we can do now is we can look at other coins and see if those other coins have a better setup for us in the same movement that we have on Bitcoin. So let me just open up a bunch of windows here, and let me go to XRP. Let me go to CHZ and see what's happening here. All right, so XRP, let's go a bit higher. XRP is in a similar situation that Bitcoin. However, it's much closer to the previous bottom here. XRP. I don't know why we have these channels here. Probably plotted before. So what we can have here, it's towards this support level, and our stochastics are much more aligned here actually, because the 5 minutes still going down, and the 15 is choppy, and the 30 and 1. All right, so there's that. What else do we have here? 5 minute also very similar. So the 5 minute is going down on those, whereas we're already bottomed out on Bitcoin. All right, again, this looks very aligned to me. And we're going down. So once the 5 minute, okay, and the 15 minutes topped out here, so I would not long. So probably have to wait for the 15 minutes to align, 5 minutes to align. And this is something that our Porcupine is telling us right now. Finally, after a while, we got some more down pressure here. And now I'm looking, every single time we had this level before on Porcupine, what happened to the price? And it moved up every time. So the chance that we will have a bounce here is relatively high, at least some kind of bounce. So what we could do is, I mean, we're still waiting for this to happen, or the possibility of that happening, and right now we're kind of in no man's land. Like there's barely any supports and resistances, so the chance that we'll go further down, or at least bounce around, is going to be pretty high. That being said, a long where we layer in orders here to the downside would make sense, with like, I don't know, 10% entry right now. Would also make sense with our take profits just back in the range. meaning what we're guessing now is that we'll pick up the orders at the bottom and then we'll just deliver them back into the range. Not even top of the range, just back into the range. Because whenever we have a trade, it's like, okay, what's the scenario we want? What's the best case scenario, something we love to look at? And then what is the highest probability scenario? And then, we will assume that the highest probability scenario will happen, which is that we'll go at least back to the range. Not even to the top, not even to the middle, at least back to the range. So now we just have to see what's going to happen here. Obviously, we'll put take profits level higher as well, but definitely some take profit levels at these range levels right here. So our 5 minutes going up. Our 1 minute's probably broken out at this point. Yeah, our 1 minute just broke up. So now, basically, all we can trade, assuming we enter where we entered, what we can trade is we can just trade this long until the 1 minute turns back around, or the 3 and 5 top out or turn back around. Our 15 minutes not in our favor, so we need to be very, very careful because the 15 minute can still finish the move to the downside. So, on a higher probability basis, just looking at the 1 minute and making sure that, we will bounce, or we don't bounce immediately to the downside. So this can be a very, very fast scalp here, and we can, take some profits very early on to just secure the position. All right. So as long as we're, in this move and looking at the 1 minute, we're micromanaging it. If we're not and we're looking at the higher time frames, then we're not micromanaging it anymore and we are not looking at it anymore. With our orders here and with our take profits here. So we would just look at that. Let's see. In the meantime, let's look at what our other time frames are doing. The 15 minutes topped out here, and I think the 15 minutes around topped out here too. Okay, just going down. So trading against the 15 minutes not the best thing ever, especially the 31 and 3 are in alignment to the downside. So larger picture, any long that happens right now, we should probably look what the 15 minutes doing here. If it triggered a long, oh, here we go. See, traded the same thing as we did right now. So actually, we can just do the scalper trade here, because other than the long-term other than the short-term long, we can still see quite the downside because our higher time frames are all aligned going down. On the altcoins, they're very topped out. On Bitcoin, they're somewhere in the middle, but still going to the downside. So we can just see what's going to happen here. Let's look at the lower time frame. It's just long as well, same thing. The 1 minute here, that's the question, what the 1 minute is going to do. What we really want is the 1 minute to top out and have us take profits. If the 1 minute turns back around to the downside, though, we might exit earlier. So just looking at the 1 minute here to track what the stochastic's doing. Other than that, we're looking the overall trade that we're doing is on the 15 minute. On the 15 minute here, but we're looking at the detail on the 1 minute because it can be so dangerous, because the downside is still there and the altcoins indicate the same thing, by the way. So depending on what the market gives us, it's either a scalping trade or it's a bigger trade. So our 1 minute is still going to the upside. Yeah, 15-minute performance is killing it. 15 minutes killing it, and probably a something that you guys might like more than a 5 minute, because the moves are larger. So if you trade on some random exchanges with bad spread, you're gonna feel it less. So it has, in the same time period, it has less trades and more profit than the 5 minutes. So that means that the average profit per trade is larger. And then again, like, you need to keep in mind that this is not fully accurate, because at some point the stop loss just doesn't trigger, number one, for some reason on TradingView. And number two, we have the rule that if we hit a stop loss, we don't trade until we get an opposite signal. And on TradingView, that's just not implemented, or not able to be implemented. That's why I made the strategy on our system in-house. I'm still working on displaying it. It's going to be essentially very similar to our normal dashboards. Let me go and see what the bundles are doing here. In the meantime, I'll go to the QC bundle. Let that one load. And really what's honest, like all that's gonna happen, all right, so we just about topped out on the 1 minute. So for the scalper, this is a good time to take profits already. And because there's a large downside, I would take some profits now already on a scalper trade. And definitely stop loss to break even. So no matter what happens, I'm not gonna lose money on the scalper trade. However, on the, this is very different than a large trade where we expect, or we're okay with the price going all the way down here in order to add into our trades, which would put our average order, towards the downside, assuming with 10% in now, and a return to the range, which is a probable return, core market principle, we would have a pretty good area of profit here. All right, let's see what the bundles are doing. I want to see the trades. Still loading, or no? All right, we're still in 3 trades as of right now. 2 days ago, Solana closed the long, or the trade that I was looking at before, and before that as well. All right. It's a little passive now, but well, this is what this goes. So since December 29th, we made around 8 grand. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. And by the way, this line does not show unrealized profits. It just shows the account, realized account. So that's why there might be a few days where it's just a straight line. Whereas when we do our back testing, we don't have this. We have also intra trade, or like we have a snapshot every single day, including unrealized profits. That's how you attract the actual volatility of an account. This is just a performance. All right, we're still in our trade here. The 15-minute might be turning to the upside. our 5 minutes going to the upside, so that's good. As long as we have our 5 minute going to the upside, we'll be okay. As long as we have our 3 minute going to the upside, we'll be okay. What we don't want is the 3 minute to turn around, which is the 1 minute. That happens with that happens if the 1 minute starts going down. So on the 1 minute, it actually just closed here right when we set it actually. Right when we set it ourselves, that we would take some profits off of this. But I'm pretty sure that the 5 and 15 will be closing their longs relatively soon as well, unless we just keep going up, obviously. So yeah, at this point on a scalper trade, stop loss to break even, and we see where it takes us. And then, so we're guaranteed to not lose money on this trade. If it hits our stop loss to break even, we flip back to our larger time frame trade, where we will look at entering lower and returning back to that range. And that is something that there's not going to play out on this call anymore, but on the next call we'll look at what happened. And probably when you watch this on YouTube, I will just do a quick comment and edit it together, what happened in that trade. So yeah. All right. Okay, so now just looking what the stochastics are doing. I'll remove the scalper so it loads faster. Our 3 minutes kind of turning to the downside, which is not great to see. And as an example, on the dashboards, right, the strategies, what they look at as well is, number one, you have position, right? Then you have direction. Which way does it go? Which is, by the way, the derivative of position. So little math class, when this value is 88.49, that's the position of the stochastic. The next value is 81.73, which is the position. If you subtract those values, you get the derivative of it, which is the direction, which is negative. It would be like a -7 or something like that, -6 point something, which would be the value of the direction. The next derivative of that, of the direction, is acceleration. So if we take two levels here, and this would be -6, and then this would be -20. -6, -20. You take the difference of that, which would be -14. So the acceleration would be strong to the downside, meaning that the curvature is curving to the downside strongly, and that's something that the bots are looking at as well. And that's something that you look at as well, by the way. You just don't know about it. You do it subconsciously. You look at where it is, you look at where it's going, and then you look at how fast it's going there, what the curvature is. Looking at the stochastic now, the fact that we bounced to the downside, there had to be some kind of movement to the downside right here, as we can see. So yeah, I mean, that we don't really care, because no matter what, we got a stop loss to break even. And we just closed our 1 hour candle, by the way, so that's something that we'll be looking at as well. I don't want the alignments, I just want this. The 15 minutes still in the trade. The 5 minute is, let's see if it's still in the trade. Yes, it is. The 3 minute doesn't matter, and the 1 minute would have exited already a long time ago. All right. So let's see how the 1 hour played out here, because that's something that we want to see. All right, so the 1 hour did not turn to the upside and is going further down. So that gives us further indication that we might move further to the downside. That does not mean that our long isn't going to play out. Like whenever we exit on the, well, first of all, no matter what, we're exited break even worst case. But what's possible is that on the 15-minute, we will have an exit on our long and then go further down to the downside. So that's something that we need to be looking at as well. But no matter what, here, if we took profits, we took profits. If we didn't, we just break even, and we're ready to add in orders here. And this is depending on what our stochastics are doing. If we're not aligned, all of the lower time frames bottomed out, we will not do that because it would be too risky to trade against the higher time frames. In that situation, I would much rather have the lower time frames topped out and aligned, and in that case it would be an easy short because the higher time frames would go in our direction. So yeah, that's basically all of that. And you know, the altcoins are all topped out going down, so the shorts here would be much easier to trade, especially when we're towards the top of the range. So so also what is a good setup that I like, if I was trading a lot, I would be looking at shorts at the altcoins, and I'd be looking at my long on Bitcoin, and that way I'm hedged in the market. So wherever we go, you know, if there is a big volatile move, I am hedged in it, whether it's to the upside or to the downside. I still am making profit and covering my loss. However, both of those trades are likely to play out because the theories of those are different, and it can still play out. So if we short the altcoins and we have a move to the bottom of the range, aligns perfectly with Bitcoin going to the bottom of the range, picking up our orders for the long. So both are able to play out, but by being in a position, you know, in two opposite sides of the position in the market, we're hedged against each other, meaning that there cannot be, by definition, there cannot be a large, very large loss from a high volatility move. So yeah, so we're just gonna let this play out, and then what I'm gonna do is for the recording, I will just replay it back and go over the candles that happened, and we'll also see obviously on the scalper what that one did. So we'll do that, and we'll see on the overall performance what happened if we touch the bottom of the range, if we move to the upside, maybe broke into this long and broke to the upside, or if we just had our move to the downside where we recharged our stochastics on the lower time frames and it just went further to the downside, which would be our shorts here. So let me set that up as well, just to see, because right now I'm gonna go off because I have another call, but when we come back in a couple hours, we will see how they played out, and then we can analyze them. And this is my favorite way of trading. Here we're on a 3 hour, but let's just look at a short here as well, and then we'll see how we analyze. So we have three options that can happen. Either the entire market moves strongly to the downside, which would profit on our altcoins. The market can move strongly to the upside, which would profit on our Bitcoin long. Or we are going to trade the range, in which case all of those trades will play out. So yeah, so that's the setup essentially, and now we, you know, like put in the orders, make sure everything's there, and then we just let it age like fine wine, and then we'll see the result of that, and then based on the result, we can see what did we do well, what did we not do well, what can be improved, and work from there. So yeah, that's basically the way that we're looking at trading, and this is the way that I like to trade. And now we'll just come back and we'll see how it played out, and based on that we'll adjust our strategy, adjust our theory, and then keep going. And every single one of those trades, which is 3 trades in this situation, will be noted down and analyzed in a tracking sheet. So by the time we have 20 trades, you can look at it, and I promise you, you will have so much more data than other people don't have, where it almost feels like insider trading. Yeah, so that's everything from my side right now. If you guys have any questions, you can write them down right now, or you can write them down later on in the Discord. This has been recorded. I will add in another clip into the recording before I upload it with the results of what happened with these trades. And yeah, let me just put Hans in here, and other than that, just write questions.
Yo, what's going on, everybody?
How's it going?
Chilling, bro. Making some eggs right now. Just real quick. I actually didn't look at the 15-minute scalper until you mentioned it just like earlier in the call. And dude, that thing is nice, man. I mean, I feel like with the smaller, like the scalp, like the short time frame one, with the fees can eat you up, man. Because if you do market orders, usually with scalping you do market orders, but with the 15-minute, it'll like yesterday it was going up, and it kept shorting it until it hit the key level that I actually drew out earlier this week.
Right.
So I'm thinking, I'm like, if we, if you use certain key levels, like higher time frames, like if you're gonna do the 15-minute entries for the strategy, using like weekly and daily levels plus the scalper to get in on like revert, because the scalper is made for range trading, but you could even use it for reversals. Yeah. If you hit the key level. So that was a nice move right there, bro. It was like 2.4K or something like that, the win that it made.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's gonna be so much easier too. Like I keep saying it over and over, but on TradingView it's not really representative of the performance, because especially on the 15-minute time frame, there are like most of the situations where you just have short after short after short in a long move. Like those just don't happen. Like literally don't happen. They're very, very easy to avoid. So
yeah.
So once we see that, then you'll see probably even more applications with it. But yeah, I agree with you on the 15-minute. Definitely something to play around with.
Yeah, so I might just do that when I have a key level I'm looking at, or whatever, to get in on the 15, man. Hell yeah.
For sure.
But all right, man, you gotta get to a call, so that's all I wanted to say.
All right, cool, man. I appreciate it. And if you guys have any other questions, let me know. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the Discord.